This is your daily market recap for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, your daily market review, Tuesday. Was it June 27th, 2023? Years flying by. Hope you're having a great day. As we talked about, expecting some chop. Certain levels we're going to hold potentially and bounce going into the end of the month. Well, we got the first bounce. Not surprised. People always know coming off any high or low, you should expect a retest or some sort of pullback. Again, the first highs, the first lows always find buyers or sellers because the trend is the friend until it's not. And so that's where it's important to see the market do what it needs to do to shake people out, to give them encouragement that the trend will continue before the inflection points. We think we're at the top. The inflection points, why? Please check out the whole review if you want to see, versus a lot of people out there just seem to get emotional, have comments. And again, I don't mind helping people out, but give me a legitimate reason why you think something, not just, oh, I believe this, I believe that. Again, we're evidence-based. Again, probability-based game, you can be wrong, but try to be evidence-based. Just don't be faith-based, because guess what? I hate to say this, but God doesn't care about your trading account. He doesn't care. He really doesn't. The market's going to do what it's going to do. And as someone who's been doing this a long time, if you have to pray for your trades, then you're probably wrong. Be evidence-based. All right. Anyway, follow on Twitter. Posted a ton of charts today about things that we expected and levels that we thought we'd hold. Not surprisingly, especially a lot of them. Again, we'll go into the charts. Please like, subscribe, follow. Also, too, if you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you'll get live notification. We do live chats. Keep in mind also, too, if you're on another platform, it's worth seeing this so you can get the constant updates. Please check out thetradingagent.com. Again, I have the Back to Basics education series from beginner information to more advanced. I always tell people it's worth checking out those videos. If you're learning to trade, again, there's so many repeating tendencies and mechanisms in the markets you're not even aware of. It's just like you don't know what you don't know until you do this long enough and you see, okay, it does this and this and this and this and seasonality and this and this and that. It'll start clicking. If you're looking to make 5.15% on your savings account, please check out Marcus. Check out those promotion codes for 3 months. However, though, when you create an account, you can start sharing with your friends and family. You get 3%. You'll get 3-month benefit every time. And again, if rates go higher, they are raising their rates. I have not seen them raise lower rates since I started this and been involved in it. Love it. Like you said, every time you get a referral, it continues to keep the promotion rate for both you and the person that you send it to. And so I'm expecting to go higher. Again, if you have capital over 250,000 or you just want to get more money, this app is amazing. I vouch for it. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think so. All right, Fed Watch tool. Again, we always check this out every day. Probably not going to move too much. They're expecting a rate hike in July. No snot. No schnit. So Bitcoin, we talked about 30,000 level. Are you surprised chopping around here again? Old resistance. It's acting pretty technical. I guess you could. Do you want to draw it this way, like really like clone out the channel, like keep the angle of descent the same? All right, looking pretty channel-ish. We'll see what happens here. Can it break out? Who knows? Again, I'm not anticipating anything of risk on or liquidity driven to rise. Again, commodities, again, I expect them to chop around. I don't think they're going to break out. I don't see oil going higher. I see it chopping. I do see more OPEC cuts, but that doesn't necessarily mean demand is going to keep up. Keep in mind, when they start cutting, OPEC does, because what are they seeing? Demand drying up. They don't want the OPEC or the COVID repeat in futures prices. It just causes huge issues in the oil markets. Nat gas, we talked about it, chopping around, bouncing. It is what it is. Choppy. Again, how do you want to draw the trend line? I don't know. You can draw this a million ways. And again, trend lines can get violated temporarily to create traps. I personally don't think natural gas is going to go much of anywhere other than chop city. It's the dollar. Dollar make you holla. Right? Come on, give me the dollar. I apologize. Got something covering up my screen. No, I don't care. Thank you. Dollar. Talked about it. Higher lows, higher highs. 200-day has been a problem. Not surprised it backed off. 150-day, keep an eye on it. Remember, dollar, just like the bond market, don't really care too much until they start increasing in movement, either up or down. The volatility in those markets actually affects the stock market more than just the actual intraday crap. The bond market is stuck, right? Between 100, 110, whatever, essentially. On the TLT, bond yields, as we talked about, stuck in this 5% range, somewhere in there. Until that changes, again, I think the market can get comfortable, but also, too, the market could get uncomfortable when the velocity of one direction proceeds. The VIX, as we talked about, extreme low action. Extreme. This is not healthy. Market's overbought. Keep in mind the VIX doesn't top for a bear market in 38 land. This is not it. Again, keep in mind, most bear markets 50 minimum, probably going to see a monster. Because again, remember, the market, the Feds are pulling liquidity out of the market, not putting it in. VIX is showing too issues. The VIX of the VIX looks like the market is holding. The VIX of VIX is holding up. But again, that doesn't mean today. That's why I was trying to like, right now is not always the best time for the trade to start. You wish and you hope and you think, but the reality is you don't know what day it's going to start. You don't know what the market's waiting for. You don't know if it's a news event, whatever, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. A lot of people get super involved in mentally thinking that something has to happen all the time right away today. Sorry, that's not how it works. SPY, we talked about it. Pulling off the high, you're probably going to get a bounce. Again, off the first, like I said, first low, you get a pullback. Lows, you get chops. Tops, you get higher, lower highs. Again, could you get a double top? I don't know. All depends, really. But again, just be prepared mentally. Again, this is a probability-based game. If you're sitting here going, has to do this, you are not understanding how trading works. Talked about the 20-day holding. So far, so good. Same thing. Been on fire. It's probably going to sell off more than other parts of the market. But again, run up. The best 6 months in the NASDAQ history. Keep that in mind. Even bigger than the NASDAQ bubble. Just keeping that out there. IWM's been lagging for months. Again, not surprised. Hit the 100-day. 100-day has been important. 100-day area, right? 100-day, and then it broke. Point being, gap fill, dead cat bounce. Probably DIA. We talked about this one again. Chopping around, not following the cues in the SPY. We talked about the 50-day. You had a 2-day range. Not surprised. Popped up, filled the gap. I mean, could it fill some of these gaps? That always has to be in the back of your mind. Gold, telling people to leave it the hell alone. Second quarter weakness. Again, it's due to bounce, but doesn't necessarily mean to. It could chop around. Silver got absolutely obliterated. We talked about this one probably holding the 200-day. So far, so good. GDX finally hit the 200-day. Not surprised. Okay, could it bounce? I mean, again, I tell people, like, let's just move right along. Just ignore them. GDXJ, miners lagging. The juniors of the more leveraged ones, they're under the 200-day. Could it pop back? Obviously the 20-day has been rather important in red. I mean, again, you want to wade in this pool, you go right ahead. I think there's just easier trades. AG, we've talked about letting the prices come in. AEM broke the 200-day, chopping around. Looks, again, I mean, just all these names look like, okay, are they oversold? Potentially. Could they go lower? Potentially. Either way, if the market pulls back, they're going to pull miners back. If the market holds up, do they have to go up? That's where it's just like, leave it alone. Again, let the actual throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let them annihilate miners. Newmont, same thing, going nowhere, holding the 20-day. You think this thing would be up? It looks more like AEG, which is crazy. PAAS, same thing, just dead. All right, tech names, we talked about them. Probably due to bounce, right? 20-day area on TSM. Again, I still think these candles are blow-off tops. Kind of made a joke. It's going to look like the Galaga top, like the little ship, pew, 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 shooting out the top. Head and shoulders top, potentially. Keep an eye on it. Micron, same thing. I think all these things have topped. It's just, again, you drop pretty quickly. Little outside, could have pulled back to the 20-day, could have get up to 68, I don't know. AMZN, another one, I mean, I think 7 straight days of just, all right, you hit the box, you filled the gap, are you not surprised it could bounce a little? People just like mind boggle that it's not that hard. NVIDIA, we said the 20-day, watch what happens. It's been riding it all the way up, right? Well, first touch, probably going to bounce. Duh. Intel, keep it simple, stupid, right? Talked about 20-day, again, thing goes from 37 down to 32. Do the math, it's 15% approximately very quickly. Of course it's going to bounce. Okay, 8-day, 10-day. I mean, again, when you zoom out, it's just like, all right, what is the dead cat bounce level? SMH we talked about earlier in the week. Don't be surprised if it gets back into this 150s, 151, 152 area. Little head and shoulders top. I mean, just keep an eye on it. Could it retest the highs? Always possible. Always possible. But again, I don't trust any of these names to sustain. Again, AI, whatever. I always tell people, like, you don't understand how, like, when the market gets so hyped and it brings everybody and their mom into a sector after it's already run up and the most confident people are the dumbest money, what do you think's going on behind the scenes? Institutions have been unloading tech at an astronomical rate, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's ready to drop. I tell that to people all the time. You got to, like, bring in the sectors to hold the thing up so people can unload, because you can't unload all at once, because if they did, what would happen? The shit would crash. So the goal is to what? Create the perception that things are going to go higher. Oh, this is a dip to buy. Get people to buy. Get the market makers allowed to unload. Then when they're ready to pull the plug, they do. Adobe, and again, blow off top, it's the 1.382. Chop, 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 maybe 496. Apple, current friend here has been saying 190. Thought about adding some shorts today. Just kind of going to see how it runs into the end of the month. Amazon, don't think it's sustainable. Think we're close. It's getting into this, can't get really over 130. It's kind of starting to get stuck, filling the gap. I mean, there's, again, as you can tell, this is the VAP zone here, and it's do people unload at the high of the VAP zone? Potentially. And if you go look at the monthly, weekly, you're at some major moving averages. CRM, the CEO sells $100 million worth of shares. He's really bullish on AI, right? Meh. It's chopping around. Guggenheim, we've talked about AI. Well, it's starting to get a little tired here. Hits the 50-day. Perfect. Could roll up the 20-day. Again, all these names, I mean, they could be due to bounce. Meta, which has been holding up, filling the gap. Zoom out. Amazed that they did this. Again, I don't know who's dumb enough to buy up here, but I could go into my rant on why Meta is worthless, in my opinion, long term. I mean, the value is what? Virtual reality? Are they going to have the lock on it? Probably not. Facebook as an app, Meta, Instagram, that's just a terrible platform to market on, especially someone who uses it and used to. Never. And they don't pay their creators. Bad. Microsoft, we talked about it, kind of dropping down. Could watch what happens. It got below the 20-day. Nice little, I guess, maybe bear trap near turn. Could it roll back up into the 337, 338? Probably. NDAQ, every video, say why this matters. Keep in mind, the NASDAQ Composite Commodity Exchange is showing you that what? And the future is not tech. The future is not tech. People are not going to be trading tech. They're going to be trading other stocks, in my opinion. It's going to be a commodity bull market, in my opinion. Just like after the dot-com bubble, tech companies went nowhere for years, decades. It seemed like, well, guess what? The exchange is showing that it's over. Está abierto, right? If you take out this 46 level, look out below. MicroStrategy, Bitcoin holding up. Are you surprised after yesterday's pullback? It bounced? Nope. Watch this 330 level. Netflix, dead cat bounce today. Looks like really nothing. Holding the 20-day. Could bounce. Just keep that in mind. Roadblocks we talked about, stuck in the mud. I mean, I like it at lower prices. I think it's a buyout target, but at this point, just keep an eye on it. Tesla drops 40 points or whatever. What did it go from? 278. All right, 30-something points. Not surprised. Little dead cat bounce. Right. Again, remember, the first drop gets bought typically. Now, again, 85% of the time. So you have to remember that. So, again, don't get caught up in all it has to go straight line move every time. X, we talked about materials names chopping around. Not looking too bad. I mean, I'd watch this 25 area, the 100-day. I mean, I think these names are probably more like shorts than buys, but we'll see what happens. Nucor, here you go, getting up into the range. You zoom out, there's major resistance. Start of the end of this VAP zone, and all this is lighter volume. Could it rally? Anything's possible. I mean, again, I would have a tight stop if you decide to trade it, either short or long. Caterpillar, again, drops, I don't know, 15, 20 points. Are you surprised it bounced? Keep an eye on it. I mean, you're right here. It's the major zones. VALE, dead gut bounce. I mean, just take a moment to look at this thing. Again, global growth name. Does it look like there's global growth? No, it's holding the 20-day. Someone tried to argue, it's a head and shoulders bottom. Okay, professional gap. Okay, we'll see. I mean, you're kind of betting on the dollar going lower. We'll see what happens. Arrow, copper holding up this name especially. Little suspect up here. Again, it's been on a nice run. Keep an eye on it. CCJ, a lot of people got mad at me. I told them sell on the 30-31 level again. I mean, I like uranium. I know all the news is bullish long term, but I think they throw out the baby with the bathwater. You're below the 20-day. Nothing wrong with pulling back. Let it do what it's going to do. Ag names, I say this every video. Love them, but don't want to buy them. Just kind of let them play out. I mean, they look like they're bottoming, but here's the thing. I don't want to buy. The market gets sold, and I've said this 1,000 times. When it gets unloaded, nothing's going to be safe until the Feds pivot, because then the money will actually rotate, because they'll go, okay, well, the Feds are pivoting. We can go into the pivoting cycle, and there's a playbook for that. And we've talked about that. They buy commodities, they buy gold, they buy everything that is risk-on inflationary, right? But keep in mind, tech is not inflationary. I warn people all the time. Tech does not like inflation because their margins get squeezed, okay? Make sense? NTR holding the 20-day, not surprised. AA, another global growth name. Holding around the lows. Now, again, could these names bounce end of the month? Absolutely. Just keep an eye on it. XLF, we talked about mid-33s, resistance. Talked about it could hold here. Again, multi-day, little bounce. Are you surprised? JP Morgan, if you shorted this thing in the 144 range, today's action is good. Just holding the 50-day. It feels like a choppy top. Distributive M pattern. Morgan Stanley's been getting brutally beaten. I mean, not brutally, but I guess, it's underperforming. Are you surprised it bounces a little bit when the market does? They're not leading. Goldman up $1. I mean, this thing should be rallying hard. I told you guys, watch this trend line and just be aware. Financials lead the market. KRE, we talked about this one being oversold, people buying it. Michael Burry talking about oversold trend bounce. Nice trade if you bought it 33, 44, and you do the math there. That's a pretty solid return. At this point, I think it's going to get waterlogged in the 41 area, maybe 42. I would not trust this for a minute. XBI, we talked about when it broke the channel. It's fail. Well, it hits a bunch of moving averages. Could it bounce here a couple days? Again, keep this in the back of your mind. Don't be sitting here going, oh, it has to go in a straight line all the time. Be prepared. Be prepared. Just want to check out the transports real quick. It's in holding up pretty well. I was thinking about this today, and it's like, yeah, they're, is this a novice gap or a professional gap? I don't know. Keep an eye on the 240s. Keep an eye on it. Solar, we've talked about this as a joke. Short bounces, but big bounces. If you're trading it, manage your positions. You're at range lows on TAN. ENPH, we talked about shorting this one at the 50-day and the 180s. All right, well, it might base here at the lows. Keep in mind, it's done this before. It just, it's down a lot. So there's a lot of bargain shopping idiots out there. Excuse my language. Solar, again, I mean, I'd like solar when oil and gas are higher, but if I think oil and gas are going lower, solar ain't going to hold up, especially with subsidies and government spending. It's just all a mess. Sedge, talk about shorting it up in here in the gap fill. Now, again, this is where I talk about breaking trend lines sometimes can create traps to get people to cover. I mean, if it does, I'd watch probably the 260s, 270s, and then reshort it. First solar, we talked, again, filling the gap. This wasn't going to hold up. Gone a little lower, hit some support. Maybe the 150, 120-day, all these moving averages. If it bounces, I'd watch this confluence of areas. It'll be very simple. Oil, this is the oil. Keep an eye on it, right? Chopping, going nowhere. UNG, I know a lot of people love buying this. Again, I just don't think the big move is there, but if you want to trade it for your dollar, you want to scrape some pennies, go right ahead. XOP, talked about this one, just chopping around, gotta hold. Teenager land, 110, one teenager land. ExxonMobil, if you shorted this, again, we've talked about 116, 118, basing, not a problem. This is what happens sometimes. But this is the thing, is it look strong? Is it leading up? Nope, it's just chopping. Chop. Occidental, Mr. Buffett selling as many covered calls as he can on it. The covered call king just is what it is. Don't be surprised if it bounces at some point, maybe in the end of the quarter. But, it's just the big base. Now, again, for this thing to really take off, you think oil is going to have to go somewhere. So, PX Dizzle, man, broke 200 today. Interesting. It's got to hold. Again, it not like in the sense of, like, I guess you could draw it like this. It just doesn't seem to have anything. They're a potential buyout target, looking a little soft. EQT, we talked about some of these natural gas names taking a little bounce. Okay, keep an eye on it, filling some gaps. Do you want to chase them? I wouldn't. Flex LNG, again, I think long-term we are a big natural gas exporter at worst. Nice dividend yield. I think this is a good stock to own for long on a pullback. If you have to buy it at this prices, then manage it with covered calls. If you have any questions, always please reach out. Reach out, no matter what platform. Try to help. I appreciate all the love, support, understanding what is going on in my world, and just, I appreciate everybody. Love, support, and donations. I will talk to you guys and gals later. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.